Good morning. How you doing? We're going to be talking about AI. I'm going to start at a very high altitude level, and before I finish, we're going to be down at the ground level. We have a once-in-a-century innovation opportunity with AI. And I'm also going to say, whether you're on a glide path, I'm looking around the room, the glide path to retirement, or you're still in that aspirational phase of your career, AI is unlike the garden variety innovation the technology drives. It will be the greatest opportunity for transformation you will see in the span of your career. So let me build that out. Economists and sociologists talk about something known as general purpose technology. These are things that come along every 50 to 100 years. When they do, they pretty much change everything. Think printing press, think internal combustion engine, think electricity. When these come on the scene, they change how we live, how we work, and the very fabric of society. The way in which we measure technology is the time it takes to reach 100 million users. So up until the fall of 2022, these were the fastest technologies coming onto the planet. And everyone was shocked when TikTok hit 100 million users in 9 months. ChatGPT went from 0 to 100 million users in less than 8 weeks. Nothing in the history of humankind has ever gone that fast, as a product or as an idea. I'm going to give you possibly the world's fastest AI primer. And it's always amazing to me how many times, particularly among leadership crowds in healthcare, everyone's talking about AI. And if I ask a simple question, what do you mean? If you all have pen and paper, if I ask everyone, you got 5 minutes, 100 words, define AI, and then we compared, how much variance would it be in this room alone? And to me, it's always funny because I don't know how leaders can lead something they haven't defined. If you understand the capabilities, you truly are the smartest people to say, here's how we apply it, because you are the experts. So I'm going to put a finer point on this because it's really important. I'm not a clinician, but I've used AI and data, and I've discovered there's a silent killer among us. And I want to share this with you today. You see, I've used AI to discover there's a perfect correlation between per capita cheese consumption and people who die by becoming tangled in their bed sheets. I understand you have a special event tonight. If we can stay away from the cheese platters, you probably can save some lives. But so you see where I'm going with this? There are times where AI can produce something that looks really, accurate and conclusive. But with all those things that are uniquely human, you look at it, and those things in the clinical world or even in the website world would probably seem equally laughable. So the idea is, recognize all of those things that you possess that make you unique in what you do, and figure out how to take all of the things AI is good at to make you better. Everyone's doing AI. Very few are getting measurable value at scale. And the question is, why is that? So I'm going to tell you something that if you understand this, you can look at anything and determine the value props. AI use case provider priorities for 26. It's interesting. Clinical documentation and improvement, compliance, medical coding, prior auth, risk adjustments, care gap identification, denial appeal management. Man, that sounds a lot like what you guys are doing. What you do is really at the crux of where we are when it comes to driving value that can be measured when done right with AI. You look at care coordination and just what we talked about, it's messy. And without your skills and experience, AI is never going to touch any of that. The first thing I look for with a new client is how they're approaching AI. When I say that, in my view, done right, AI is not about technology, it's about empowerment. As simple as that sounds, when I go into organizations and the C-suite is mainly driving this as a tech initiative, your path, your activities, and your outcomes will be dramatically different than when I catch a C-suite that basically are saying this is technology related, but it's all about empowering our workforce.
And you're talking about the nurses. I have a group of nurses. We still struggle with adoption of this tool, and I believe in it. I think it's valuable. How do we, if you have any maybe key pointers of how to change that mindset? Because when you talk about empowerment, that was enlightening for me because I do feel like we presented this as technology, it'll make things better, but my thought is now, how do we empower the nurses to use their critical thinking and the skills that they have to complete these reviews and do their work? So just any kind of key points on what does empowerment look like, or what does that discussion look like?
You do know that was 5 questions. But I didn't say there was a limit. I've never met a healthcare leader that says anything other than, we're innovative. I see the body language. And yet, the funny thing is, everyone loves saying they're innovative, but most humans hate change. It's like, well, so I'd bring it back to, it's incumbent upon leaders who set culture, who go beyond yay AI, to bring people along. When I work with nurses, you want to understand what it is. Nurses especially aren't going to use anything they don't trust or understand, particularly when it comes to patient care. Is AI going to replace or supplant my decision-making? Because if AI is producing clinical decision support recommendations, and I'm looking at that, and back to that chart of what AI does well and what I do really well as a nurse, and my brain's ticking off about, I don't think that's right. Anything that produces moral distress in nurses is a bad thing. How many of you, if you're doing new nursing intake orientation, have someone come in to that to say, I'm going to spend 30 minutes talking about the role of AI and nursing at fill in the blank. When you boil this down, human nature, helping people on the journey, and somehow you're here, and Xsolis is, it sounds like you guys are doing great things together. So somehow you brought yourself along, but as you go back, think about all those other people who are going home and are thinking, I wonder what this means to me.